Fall means autumnal breezes and vibrant earthy colors. It also means fall allergens, bacteria, and particles coming into your home. So swap out your old HVAC air filter with a Filtrete air filter from a retailer near you. Let's clear the air.
Some read self-help books. Others use meditation. At New Balance, it's believed that peace can be found with a run. You're never truly prepared for adversity, but certain things serve as a guide for moving forward. Whether sprinting or running marathons, the physical and mental requirements become ingrained. Visualizing an outcome, synchronizing breath and body, pushing past pain and fatigue. Those hard-learned lessons serve as a blueprint for overcoming obstacles and achieving balance in life. Go beyond the run at newbalance.com.
Hey, and welcome to the HA podcast. I'm Danny Sheriff, the host of this podcast, the founder of the HA Society, and an HA recovery coach who has walked wherever you currently are. This is the place to come if you care about getting your period regularly. This podcast aims to educate, inform, and keep you motivated on your period and HA recovery track. I would love it if you could rate and review this podcast, 5 stars only, to help make this podcast easier for other women with HA to find it. And last thing, nothing from this show should be taken as medical advice. Please seek the advice of your physician. The concept of getting your period back is easy, but why is making the commitment so hard? Why does it take so long to get to a point where you're confident enough in the process to go for it? Well, for a lot of reasons, and breaking down those reasons that hold us back is one of my main missions. And that is why I created the 7-day HA Recovery Commitment Challenge. It's a completely free challenge that is 100% inside of email. So you can start your 7 days today. You don't have to wait for the beginning of this challenge. And each day, I send you a new challenge, complete with action items and mindset shifts to help you work through all of the key issues I see that hold us back from recovery. So topics inside of the email challenge include understanding why your period is missing, how to build solid, healthy, caloric, dense meals to ensure that you're getting the nutrition that you need, how to get your support network on board with you, not just letting your friends and family and partner know what's happening, but actually enrolling them in to help you. Lifestyle factors that could be impacting your ability to recover, and of course, the mindset factors and shifts that you need to make along the way. The goal of this challenge is that after 7 days, you'll be feeling knowledgeable, equipped, and inspired to do what you really know that you need to do to get your period back. So, are you ready? Go to 7daychallenge.hapodcast.com or head to the show notes for the link. That's 7daychallenge.hapodcast.com. We're recording. We are recording a community call, basically, just between 3 of us here. One of the members of the HA Society, Stacey, asked a question, and she asked, one thing I'm struggling with is how to be happy for family and friends who are getting pregnant. It seems to be one after another at the moment. And I think that this is really relevant to lots of people, and just how some in general, like when people get their period back and you don't, or if just when people have it and you don't. So I have Ashley here and I have Simona here. She probably won't say much, but she should. But yeah, hey guys.
Hey.
Yeah. So I think this is a really good question. It's kind of come up for me because I'm pregnant, and then I know Ashley is 3rd trimester styles pregnant. So
Yeah,
she got like we're at different points of that. And it's just like occurring to me that, okay, well, I'm now kind of in this group with girls trying to achieve this thing. And I'm like worried that I'm that person now
that isn't making them feel good, even though they know logically there was a lot of hard work. It took time. It didn't happen overnight, all that kind of thing. It can still be, I don't know, you can still be concerned that people aren't necessarily excited, and they're more like seeing that as a reflection on themselves and what they've been able to achieve.
Yeah, no, I think that's so good. I think sometimes we worry that like um we were in this journey together and like we're going through it, and so like at some point you're experiencing the same thing with somebody as like you go through it. And so I think whenever someone gets pregnant, it's like it kind of takes like just a slight like turn off in a different direction, but yet but now it's different, so now it's no longer experiencing the same thing on the same journey even though it started off the same. um yeah, but I think that this can actually apply to so many other things, and it's actually probably not even about actually getting pregnant. I think it's just about striving for something and maybe it coming at different times for people, whether that's like a promotion, whether it's a job, you know what I mean, whether it's getting your period back. Like I think that this is actually something that so many people can relate to, and this just happens to be the topic that like we are in right now. You know what I mean? So it's like, how do I work together? Like how do I go on this journey with somebody? And then what happens when it slightly changes, or what happens when like that person does get their period or they do get pregnant, and like and then it's not my time yet, you know what I mean? Or like I haven't experienced that yet, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can say from my experience, and I'm interested if you guys have any kind of experience you can pull from, because I know like Ashley, you wouldn't have been one of the people, neither Ashley or Simona on this call would have been the people that got jealous of someone getting pregnant.
Right.
But I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but we'll see. My experience was that I would feel a little bit of probably resentment for sure. Not when someone got their period back, because for a lot of us, for most of us, I think we see that as hope. Yes, great, the system works. And when someone in your HA community gets pregnant, you will probably also feel a bit more that way, because you're like on the same team. But then when someone, it's kind of when that girl comes along who it feels like she's never had an irregular cycle in her life. It feels like she got pregnant on the first try. It feels like, her pregnancy has been the easiest thing ever. And I say, it feels like, because we're usually missing a lot of the picture as well. So it's not necessarily the case that it was easy. She did get pregnant straight away. It just feels that way. And I think for me, the first thing is to check in with like, okay, well, what's the story that you're creating about her perfect life? Do you guys have examples?
Yeah, so just as you were talking about that, I really actually don't think it's about struggling being happy for other people, because I think most people would be like, no, I am happy. There's just this other thing that I'm feeling too. And what I think it is that it's fear that rises up. It's fear that like the story in our head is like, I'm broken. I won't be able to get pregnant. I will be someone whose body is just hates them. And so I think it's like this fear rises up, and then like we create this story about why we have not been able to get pregnant or even get our period back. I think that's why waiting, that like period of waiting is so can be so painful, because whenever we don't see like the fruit of our labor, fear is really quick to rise up and take over the story in our head. You know what I mean? So, and then plus, I think that's why a lot of people can say, no, I am really happy for you. I'm just really kind of resentful and bitter at the same time. And there's nothing wrong. And then, like, in fact, I encourage people to say, hey, I can hold these opposite feelings at the same time, and they're so extreme. But I think that's kind of like what like fear does. It like joins the party. It's like the it's like the guest that's not invited, but they have like no problem being there. You know? They're just like, oh yeah, I know this makes you feel uncomfortable, but I don't really care.
I want some of that free champagne. Like,
yeah, they're like, I have no shame. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm here to crash the party, you know?
yeah, totally. Simona, do you have anything that this like relates to you for, or are you sort of like happy for everyone on your own kind of island?
I'm happy for everyone because I don't think it's a problem. She's Stacy. No,
Yeah,
Stacy is the girl.
Stacey. Yeah.
Stacy.
But
Okay.
everyone listening.
But to Stacy, from me, looking at it from her perspective, you have to think that you are here in this community to recover. And so the happy moments will come for you too. And the more you struggle and you stress with these worries and these thoughts, and the worse it is. So you have to be patient and you have to wait to recover and not to think about the other girl that gets pregnant and you don't, because there's no reason why. You have to look at this thing as thing that makes you to hope to heal, and not to think about, okay, she's pregnant and I don't. That's the thing I want to say, and that's the thing I think every time I read on the community that another girl has her period back, because I'm not trying to get pregnant, but every time I read I get my period back, I'm so happy for this girl, and I think I can recover too. And that's the thing I want to say.
Yeah, you should have like pick the positive from her
Yeah,
experience.
we have to look at the positive ever.
Yeah. And when you think about it, like I love this sort of like tangible, okay, you could think about it this way and this way and this way kind of advice. I think people love that. And I love how like there really is nothing negative about what has been told to you. And it's so funny that we find the negative in it because we are so conditioned to compare ourselves. Like, this isn't the only place where this is happening in people's lives. Like, oh, I just got a job promotion. Oh my gosh, okay, what does that mean about me? Or like a pay rise, what does that mean about me? Or I just lost weight. Okay, what does that mean about me? Especially when you're going through HA, people who are competing in sports actively, or who are losing weight, or who are on a diet or something, like they tell you that. And even though you know strongly in your own, you're very convicted about like what you're doing, why you're doing it, and that you're on the right track, the second someone says something, your brain immediately looks for like, okay, well, where does this place me in like their world? Or if that is actually what the world's supposed to be doing, where am I and how do I fix this? And even though some of us do snap out of it quite quickly, we do get in that situation.
Yeah. Like another way that we do that is when people get married, we're like, well, what does that mean about me? Like, why am I not married now? Does this mean, you know what I mean? And I think that even like we can even go down this rabbit hole and be like, I'm gonna be that 40-year-old who's not married. But think about like how many, I mean, like I know a couple people who got married late, and thank goodness, because what if they were married to like somebody that they don't love just because they wanted to meet a timeline, right? So again, I think that like that can happen whenever we're trying to meet society's timeline. So or just this expected timeline that like we have placed on ourselves. So again, I think that's fear that comes up, and then just these expectations that like we place on ourselves that this should happen by this time, kind of almost regardless of this like circumstances, like, you know what I mean? Like we just don't even care. We're just like, we just want to hit this timeline because then this means that I am okay, or I am loved, or you know what I mean? So yeah, so I think like just kind of like you said, like I love Brene Brown. So anytime I start to feel crazy, I'm like, the story that I'm telling myself is, and then it allows me to get this crazy thought out. And then when I say it out loud, I'm able to be like, okay, that actually doesn't make any sense. And it's okay that it doesn't make any sense, but I don't have to act on it, or I don't have to feed that thought. I don't have to feed that emotion. Like, I'm actually going to back out of this rabbit hole and I'm going to just kind of keep going and doing what I need to be doing. You know,
The story, like, it's funny, as soon as you brought up the story, that's what my next thought was as well. And I feel like I'm always harping on about the story that we have in our heads in these groups, because it's just mostly what it is. And
yeah.
I just like would encourage people who are feeling feelings about other people's achievements or what have you, to kind of unpack, what is it about their happiness that means? What is it that's such an achievement, that, like, because getting married is like an amazing, wonderful time, like, my gosh, what is it? Milestone in someone's life. I don't know if a milestone even counts, because that sort of implies that you're striving towards it. It's just this, like, wonderful life event that happens for some people.
Right.
Why is that necessarily this, like, fancy achievement that they worked hard for and are better than you because they achieved, sort of thing? Like, it's kind of, they didn't like win gold at the Olympics. Like,
Yeah, like they weren't training for it.
yeah, they
Yeah, no,
weren't.
I think I think it goes back to worthiness. Like, there's certain things in our life that I think we have deemed make us worthy. So I think for women, it's like feeling loved. Well, actually for men too, let's be real. But I feel worthy of love. And the proof of that is that I'm married or I'm in a committed relationship or something like that. Or, like, think about, like, even teenagers struggle when, like, all their friends are getting boyfriends and they don't. They're like, what's wrong with me? You know what I mean? So I think that this is something, again, I think that this is something that's so much bigger and something that we kind of like wrestle with um
Pack
for a
culture,
long
like we.
time. Yeah, for a long time. And then so, like, this is just another way that it comes up. And so I think, like, especially as women, like, we want our bodies to work. I'm sure men too, but I think that there's something about not being able to have kids for those who want to have kids, that they're just like, is my body, like, not worthy of carrying a child? Is my body broken that I can't get pregnant? You know what I mean? And I think even if we're subconsciously not saying I'm not worthy, I think that's what's screaming. And so whenever we don't feel worthy, then I think that also invite other friend that we're just like not, that we never invited, but shame, like, well, dang, if I'm not worthy, then I feel really like strangely shameful that, like, I can't get pregnant, or that I'm not pregnant yet, or the universe has decided that I'm not ready to have kids or something. You know what I mean? I think that sometimes we can spiral down different rabbit holes of what does this mean about me? You know what I mean? Rather than just really zooming out and be like, okay, like, but what is it that I need right now? Because all these things are future things, right? They're all future things. So, like, we start to feel unworthy about the future of, like, I'm not married and I'm not going to have these 50 years of marriage, or I'm not pregnant now. So I won't be pregnant next year, and I won't be going, like, next Christmas, I won't be dressing up my child in this, like, dress or these super cute clothes. I think it then we start to, like, really freak out about the future. You know what I mean? Rather than be like, okay, what is it that I need today? Like, like, what do I emotionally need today? What does my body need today? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We are hosting an event that you are invited to. My HA coach Ashley and I are inviting you to a free 5-day workshop called Mental Hunger Mindset Mastery. What a name, I know, but it really sums up what the workshop does and is really well. A very common concern around HA recovery is, what if I can't hear my hunger cues? And there's a widespread fear of accidentally over or under eating for recovery because we don't understand our mental hunger, or lack thereof hunger. And it's like mental hunger, what's that versus actual hunger? And I think this whole confusion around real hunger and the hunger that's just in my head and should I be eating this much and all of that jazz, it just really needs to be consolidated. We need to get on the same page with this. We need to feel better about it and get a plan of action. So we're going to turn it all on its head in this workshop. Over the 5 days, we're going to work with you to understand what mental hunger is and why we have it. We're going to teach you to partner with it both during and after recovery, just for life. And we're going to give you the tools and strategies that you need to listen to your hunger during the different stages and phases of both recovery and your whole life. The workshop will go over 5 days starting November 12th, and there'll be 3 live Zoom calls. Don't worry, there is a recording of every call if you miss one, and there'll be assignments for you to tackle on the days in between the live calls. So register for this free workshop now by heading to thehasociety.com/workshop or find the link in the show notes. That's the hasociety.com/workshop. Can't wait to see you in the Mental Hunger Mindset Mastery workshop.
It just made me feel so like a lot of compassion for those women who, I think one of the hardest situations is I'm trying to get pregnant and I'm not, and everyone around me is. That probably is one of the toughest, because you are all the things that you said about like not feeling worthy and feeling broken. And it's like, I'm a woman, and so I'm supposed to be able to do this. This is like my main gig. I'm so confused.
I have a uterus. This is what I'm supposed to do, type of thing. Like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the things about the timeline that keeps coming up for me that can help me sometimes when I'm feeling a bit like, I don't know, envious or just comparative about something, anything that someone else has done that I haven't done yet. And it's just that, like, when you think about time and how quickly it goes, you're basically like sometimes, wishing your pregnancy away from time to time. I don't think this applies to everyone. Some people have been trying for like 10 years. But for those of us, like myself, who was trying for like less than a year, or like, and like not even really trying, when you have a baby now, in a year's time, that baby will be 1. And then in 2 years, it will be 2, and time will move on. So one way it helps me to think about it is, okay, well, if I don't have a baby now, that means I get a baby later. And it's like, I don't know if this is going to make sense to everyone, but it really works for me that, like, well, I get to look forward to that, is basically what it is in a nutshell. It's like, that's something I don't have now, but I get to look forward to. Because sometimes when you have had something and you're looking back on it 2 years ago, 3 years ago, you can feel sad because you missed that and you didn't get that. Like, you didn't get to keep that for that long. So I don't know, sort of this shift of like, I get to have that, and at least I haven't, like, the best is yet to come kind of mindset.
One thing is I like to kind of like tell my clients is that what we are feeling and experiencing today and now is not a permanent state. And I think sometimes, and again, huge compassion, because like we were all there like waiting for our periods to come back, and every day was a no. Or like whenever you're getting pregnant, it's like every month is a no. So it's really hard to deal with no, you know what I mean? But sometimes I think whenever we get overwhelmed, and I know for me, like I can convince myself that almost like that like, like today's status of not having my period or not being pregnant or not having something that I just simply really desire is permanent. Like I think that we get trapped, like that's how we get trapped in the day-to-day of thinking that this particular season or current situation is permanent, right? And so kind of like what you were saying of like there's hope for the future because it's not permanent. Actually, like today will pass, this month will pass, you know what I mean? And actually, like there are thankfully positive things that we can do and keep doing and keep trying, as if people are like, you don't think I've been trying? You know what I mean? Like, no, like we totally know that. That brings that hope of just because today was a no doesn't mean tomorrow's a no, or just because this month was a no doesn't mean that next month will be a no. You know what I mean? And so I do think that having hope is kind of like one of those double-edged swords, because hope also, like when when like things don't come through, it does lead to disappointment. Well, not hope doesn't, but the situation does. But hope is this, but is like the only thing that gets you out of today's spiral. You know what I mean? Knowing that like tomorrow has the potential to be different.
Yeah.
Unless we continue to do the same things over and over and over, then pretty strong possibility it's going to be the same.
Oh, it's a really good point. Like the way you feel today is temporary, and thank goodness for that.
Yes.
Thank God for that. And then something that also popped up when you were speaking, I don't really know why, because it wasn't super relevant to what you're saying, but it just did, was like, stop putting other people's, quote unquote achievements or whatever, like on this pedestal of perfection, because you really don't know. I don't care how much you think you do know. You really don't know like what they went through to get there. Sure, maybe they had perfectly fine periods. That doesn't mean their pregnancy is going to be great. And it doesn't mean they're not going to have issues later. And it doesn't mean that they're not, or like once the baby's born, it doesn't mean they're not going to have, a whole year one of struggles. And I think if you could actually just like be a fly on the wall for someone's, like the highlight reel or the low light reel or whatever of someone's situation, you would get you would just have a completely different perspective on the other side, and you would feel completely different. Like, let's take Ashley. She got pregnant by accident. Like, we hate those people. We hate those people that got pregnant by accident. Like, what the heck? But the reality of her story is wildly just like not that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or like whenever I share my story that I got my period back once I went all in for after 4 weeks, we can tend to be like, oh, well, it's so easy for her. But like, you don't know the 4 years of limbo, or the 4 years of half in, half out, or the 4 years of denial that led to that change. You know what I mean? And so, and plus, I also think that kind of like what you were saying is like, different seasons will be different for everybody. And I think that, again, we logically know this, where as that season happened to be like those 4 weeks out of my 5 years happened to be a little bit easier than the previous like 4 to 5 years, right? But people focus on, what, you only got it in 4 weeks. I was like, do you know the insanity, that absolute insanity that I went through that eventually led to those 4 weeks? You know what I mean? The absolute depression, the spiritual depression, the physical depression, the mental depression, like all the, like, I had never felt more crazy in my entire life or lost. But when people just see those 4 weeks, they're like, oh, it was so easy. I was like, yes, that season was easy. So I think like, while like maybe for some people getting pregnant or conception was quote unquote easy, but that doesn't mean that like I am not going to be a hot mess express come postpartum, or breastfeeding, or maybe it's boundaries and discipline. You know what I mean? So I think like you're so on of like, we have to be so mindful of what season we're watching in someone's life. You know what I mean? And like logically, we know that no one has a perfect life. And logically, we know that like we're just seeing a good moment type of thing. But I think it's so powerful to be like, okay, is it possible that I happen to catch a really good season in this person's life? And like, what led to this season? You know what I mean? Like, so again, I think that goes back to HA recovery, like as like you wait, type of thing. And like even getting like pregnant of, okay, So this was an easy season for them. You know,
Potentially, yeah.
am I as jealous of this easy season as I am their hard season? Like, am I willing to take their hard season too? Like, am I willing to say, hey, that whole package, that whole 5-year package, yeah, I'll take the whole 5-year package, not just like the 4-week package. You know what I
I
mean?
love that as a question to just like walk away with, you know. Am I willing, and I can't remember how you said it. It was like, am I willing to take the hard season and not just the good season? Like every time you look at someone's good season, whether it's literally one day or a whole month or whatever, are you willing to take the hard season that came with it? Not 100% knowing what it looks like as well. So it's a
Yeah.
bit of a lucky dip, like it's a bit of a risk.
Yeah, it's like those mystery boxes, but you know it's going to be bad. Like, it's not like those, oh, they just gave me like the lame shirt. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it's
It's
like,
like,
how bad is it going to be?
yeah, like how many valleys is going to be in that mystery season? Like, how many lows? Like, how much, like, maybe depression or just, you know what I mean? Like, how much of that are you willing, you know what I mean? And not saying that everybody has to have that story, but I just think that, like, again, it's just kind of like a gut check. Like, are you willing to take the whole package? Or are you willing to say, you know, I'm going to sit with my package and I'm going to move forward?
Yeah.
Like, actually, I'm going to move forward with my own package.
I think it's so funny. Simona, thoughts?
I think it's true. You have to consider all the story of a person, and that's the difficult part because we always look at the positive part of the story of this person, but you don't look at the story from the beginning.
Yeah,
So it's
because we
true.
can't freaking see it because the person isn't showing it to us. We need to have a lot more perspective without the aid of someone else's like social media announcement or whatever. We need to be able to look past that because you all know, you've all heard a million times that it's curated. It's not 100% the story.
Totally. Like, I don't think that you would have been like, this chick is bat crazy had I done like a live. I mean, not saying that I wouldn't have. I was just clearly not in the mental mindset to even do any of that. But if I would have jumped on and tried to express the insanity, you would have been like, someone needs to go check on her. Like, someone's stat needs to like make sure she's okay. Like, how is she even working? Type of, you know, like concern. Like, you know what I mean? But like, again, yeah.
It's actually
Like,
crazy. Like when you learn more about a person, you almost always uncover something that you didn't expect just because, you know, you never spoken about that stuff with that person. Like the way that they front and the way that they appear seems relatively put together, or they seem like a really positive person. And then eventually like you learn about some kind of tribulation that they've gone through. And you're kind of like, oh, wow, like I did not see that coming as a part of their story. So we're all really good at hiding it.
yeah. Or even I think maybe people are just legit trying to keep it together and they're like, this is my go-to face when I keep it together.
Also, I
You know what I
also
mean?
think like society just doesn't necessarily um, encourage us to like wear our reality on our sleeve and share it. It's like, oh, like don't tell people about that. Like you
Mm-hmm.
don't want to make them uncomfortable, or you don't want to, you know, stir a pot or bring up something for someone else, or mostly just you don't want to make them uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So we just don't. And we're someone asks you how you're going and you say just fine, thanks, how are you, and you just move on.
Yeah. Well, think about, I think that, I mean, another side tangent, but you could totally edit this out. But think about, we don't even like to sit in our own uncomfortableness. Like, we do so much to distract from it. You know what I mean? And which I think also makes HA recovery and waiting to get pregnant. It's kind of like, that's why I think it's more like healing than anything, because like you're forced to sit in this slightly uncomfortable state of not having your period yet. And like I can't just Instagram scroll that feeling away. I can't just like, you know what I mean? So it's like I think part of this journey is also being able to sit in the uncomfortable, like even if you have to twitch the whole time, you know what I mean? But being able to sit and move forward is hard. And that's why I think so much of us like just want this time to pass. We're like, I ate 2,500 calories plus yesterday. Why don't I have my period today? Because I don't want to sit in the uncomfortable of the time that it takes to heal. You know what I mean? And so I think that's why like a lot of us actually do really well about finding other projects, and not saying that you must be uncomfortable, but it is going to be part of the journey. But I think if we're constantly trying to avoid it and we're constantly trying to escape it, I think that's when like the impatience almost gets so unbearable. So the very thing that we're trying to avoid, the uncomfortableness, gets so heavy on us because we're like, I am running out of puzzles to do, or I am running out of other things to do while I wait for my period, but I want to do everything but sit and work through the emotions of this.
Mm-hmm. Like I shouldn't have to. I should be able to kind of just like follow the protocol, have the result, and
move on and then be gone. And so like think about all of us avoid uncomfortable things. If it's too hot, we turn on the AC.
We love it when like meetings get canceled.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So like it's in our nature to stay comfortable at all cost all the time. And if you're in your first world, it's like even like a right, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a right. We're entitled. You know what I mean? So then whenever we have to like almost submit to something natural, like our body, we like spaz out because we just have not been taught to sit in the uncomfortable. We have not been taught to embrace it. We have not been taught to be like, this is uncomfortable and I hate it and it's okay. You know what I mean?
We need stickers that say that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I like actually love it so much. Okay, guys, that was awesome. I feel complete on that answer and that conversation. Yeah. Ask yourself, are you willing to take the whole package, the good and the bad with what this person has got, knowing you have no idea the reality? Why can't you just be happy for this person? Why does this person's story have to mean anything like to do with you, in a nutshell?
Yeah, like what does it trigger? Like what shame comes up? What worthiness questions come up? You know?
Mm-hmm. And then you just say, I'm uncomfortable, I hate this, and it's okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, ladies. That was really fun. Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening today, guys. Please subscribe to the podcast, and if you could head to iTunes specifically and leave a rating or review, that would help so much because it makes it easier for other people with HA who are Googling around to find the podcast really easily. So if you do that, you're doing a service to all of the women.
Fall means autumnal breezes and vibrant earthy colors. It also means fall allergens, bacteria, and particles coming into your home. So swap out your old HVAC air filter with a Filtrete air filter from a retailer near you. Let's clear the air.
I'm Katie Grossman, the ultramarathon runner sponsored by New Balance. I'm also a creative professional, wife, and mom. Life has gotten crazy, especially after battling a tumor, but running still improves my life, both physically and mentally. Go beyond the run at newbalance.com.